It's going well. It's getting busy.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yes.
Which is good. It's important to realize we're still in a limited engagement, re-engagement in our society, but things are happening, and we are hopeful. We are hopeful. Special thank you to our many parishioners who cooperate and work very hard to keep our gatherings, whether it's at church or in community service, safe and healthy. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. So today is the feast of Saint Monica.
I love Saint Monica.
She's cool. She's like the under Mary, the mom. She's
Yes.
like the total mom.
Saint Monica. You take it.
Well, you know how well versed I am in saints. So,
Yes, we know.
I actually do know about Saint Monica, though.
But Saint Monica comes from northern Africa, which is today Tunisia, and she was from a Christian family. So she was raised as a Christian, but she was married off to a pagan husband who was a bit of a rude individual, both religiously and socially. And she had to live with her mother-in-law, who was really miserable, and she had a bit of a drinking problem. Monica had a drinking problem. They caught
now
her.
we know where
They caught her.
son got it.
Stop it, Frank. They caught it. They caught her kind of sipping from the wine jugs in the wine closet. So, and of course that fostered a reality that she needed to stop, and she did. She did stop. She had 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. Of course, her oldest, the golden child, was Saint Augustine.
He knows about being the golden child.
Although he wasn't a good boy. In fact, he was kind of a naughty boy.
College frat boy.
Very worldly, very polished. His father spent no expense to educate him, and he ended up with a brilliant career, both in Rome and then finally in Milan. And he really had no religion. He was not baptized. Monica's husband refused to have their children baptized, and Monica spent her life praying for her children to be embraced. She also prayed for her husband, who did convert and become a Christian right before death, which was the most fashionable thing to do back then. Everybody waited until they were on their last leg, got baptized, all sins, and then they expected to go straight to heaven. That's why we have purgatory. Anyway, but in a moment, Augustine then found religion, but it was a heresy. And he became a heretic, which sent Monica over the edge. And around this time she followed him like a good mother. She didn't let him out of her sight. And she followed him to Milan, and there he met the great Saint Ambrose, who by his catechesis and preaching helped him renounce his heretical beliefs and accept the Catholic faith, and also turn his life around. In turning his life around, he also had a mistress that he had a son with, that he took care of his mistress and did father his son. And on their way back to Tagaski in North Africa, Monica died in Ostia and was buried in Ostia, and her tomb is now in Rome at a basilica there. In fact, I was able to pray at the tomb of Saint Monica. She is the patron saint of people who struggle with alcoholism. She's the patron saint of mothers. She's the patron saint of mothers with children who disappoint them. She's the
mean all children?
She's the patron saint.
Ask my mom.
Of moms who are praying for their children to return to the faith. But she is really, truly a woman of prayer. And I found a neat picture of Saint Monica, and she's holding a shepherd's staff. And at first I was looking at it. Why is she carrying kind of like a shepherd's staff, or let's say a crozier, because that's what a bishop. And then it dawned on me that she tends the flock that she brought into the world, and that she guides her sheep towards Christ. And so moms and dads, if there are struggles going on, or if your children are listening to a drumbeat that's leading them in a different direction, do not be afraid to ask Saint Monica to intervene. Add her prayers to your prayers. But she is a wonderful, wonderful saint.
And it's kind of neat that her feast day is today, and then her son's feast day is
And
tomorrow.
Tomorrow is Saint Augustine, and we could do a whole show on Saint Augustine.
Oh yeah. So being married and clergy back then was not against the teachings of the church. Did he marry that mistress?
No, he never married.
Oh.
And he became very much in fact, when he returned, he established in his home a monastery and gathered, men around him to form a monastic community. And then he became bishop of Hippo and continued to have a major influence on Catholic theological thought right up until the great Thomas Aquinas.
Sure, he's the doctor of the church, and
Yes.
his teachings are some of the most foundational teachings that we have now.
And what we know of St. Monica really comes from his own writings called the Confessions of St. Augustine, where he talks about his own life, he talks about his conversion, he talks about his family, and of course he talks about his mother.
Of course.
The golden boy always talks about his mother.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking of all the golden boys, and yeah, they do. That's why I don't have a golden boy.
Oh, I
have
wouldn't know
two-
about that.
I have two equally
Yeah.
special children.
Mothers never know, but siblings know, and so do relatives.
Huh. All right, we'll have to talk later, and you can tell me who my golden child is. So, that's St. Monica. We have a few things coming up. First, on September 5th, which is a Saturday, we are going to be showing a taped, I'm
Well,
so
it's-
old,
it's-
a recorded version.
It's a recorded version of a live broadcast of Queen Esther, which is the most recent production taking place at Sight and Sound. The live broadcast will be Friday, but we just can't handle it with our schedule. But they are giving an encore presentation on Saturday at 8 p.m., which will be in the church, and then Sunday morning at 8 a.m. We can't do that because...
Wait, what? Are we doing that or not?
No,
oh,
not
okay.
Sunday.
I was going to
No
say, I
Sunday.
didn't know anything about that. Frank is confused. So they're showing it, we're not.
Yeah, they're showing it.
Gotcha.
So, but we chose to just do the Saturday at
Right.
8 p.m.
Okay.
It'll be in church. We are allowed to have 100 people attend, so it's a first come, first serve. And I'll be at the door. And yes,
Nothing? With a clicker?
with a clicker, and
And it's there's
There's
no
a-
fee, but there's a $10
there's a free
donation.
will. We're asking for a free will donation that we will then send to Sight and Sound, because like a variety of theaters and entertainers and actors and people connected to the theater, they have been hit very hard with the shutdown, and that was another thing. Earlier this week we had the feast of San Generis, not San Genarius. This is San Generis, who is the patron
Is
saint.
it Genesis? Genesis?
Genesis, I think.
Something
so.
like that.
It's like that. It's
Hold
a Roman
on.
name. Excuse me. And he's the patron saint of actors, comedians, clowns, theater people, performers,
Clowns.
and everyone else. And so we want to be as supportive as we can in our efforts to help those who have been adversely affected. So it's a $10. Geneseus, thank you.
Geneseus, there you go.
And you can go on my Facebook page and see an icon. I found a neat icon.
I know, that's what I looked up, your post.
And but anyway, so any money we collect, we will send to Sight and Sound in gratitude for this availability of showing something that really I wanted to see from the very beginning. And because of the pandemic, they had to push it back.
VeggieTales also did a really good Queen Esther, if you're interested.
I know, but getting all excited about Queen Esther, who looked like broccoli, I really couldn't.
I think she was a scallion.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't know, but she was cute. All right, so there seems to have been some confusion when we announced, when Monsignor announced on Sunday that we are going to be starting an 8 a.m. Mass for weekdays, and then eventually start an 8 a.m. for Sunday. So we just want to be very, very clear that starting Monday, September 14th, our 12:30 Mass on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday will go away, and we will have an 8 a.m. Mass Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 8. And on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, that 8 a.m. Mass will be live streamed. Okay, so we're keeping a live stream the same days that we had it, but Mass will be Monday through Friday. 12:30 is going away, 8 o'clock replaces it.
And as I mentioned, and we will continue to mention this as we get closer, the reason why we cannot go back to our regular Mass schedule is because we need opportunities to clean our various spaces between events, whether it's the hall, whether it's the chapel, whether it's a classroom, and definitely the church. And I'm very excited because our 2 foggers came in today.
Oh yeah,
They're
look like
out
fun.
there, and Frank, keep them away from Jen, please. I mean,
I never get to have any fun.
and that will allow us to continue to clean our liturgical space as well as our pastoral space for the protection of our people. Although, and I read this, and my brother, Father Anthony, shared this with me. We're going to have to really keep the air conditioners on strong, because that mist, if you ingest it, will affect your vocal cords.
Oh.
So we have to, be very prudent with that. And so we will continue to wipe, we will continue to clean, we will continue to spray, but now we have another instrument in our arsenal to keep our places clean and healthy.
Okay. And then eventually we hope to add a Sunday 8 a.m. Mass. We've been getting some volunteers here and there, which is great. And you got a bunch of volunteers to help with the sacristan duties.
Yes.
So are you good on that?
Yes, I'm going to have to reach out to them and do a training. Although many of them already know, because I looked at the list.
Yeah.
And some of them are involved in our funeral ministry.
Okay.
But we might start before October, and the only reason why I'm saying that is our numbers are increasing, and we're very happy about that. But I'm a little concerned as we get into the fall, the weather. Right now, it's all right to kind of wait outside, to be outside, but if the weather is kind of miserable, that's not going to be good for people. Coming to church, waiting outside to receive communion, go home with the flu.
Sure.
It'd be kind of counterproductive. So we hope to, see if we can get our ministers up and running maybe by mid-September.
Okay, I'll try.
Or late September.
Well, no, I mean, we'll see what we can do.
Or September 2021.
We need volunteers. This is a great opportunity for those of you who have, been a part of our parish or are new to our parish and, have maybe felt God calling you to become more active. This is a great opportunity for ministry, and it's a great opportunity to be able to serve your community in what seems like a very small way, but is huge. For us to be able to offer that to the, another mass to our community is fantastic. So if you can help, we need help for the 8 o'clock. We still need a little bit of help for the 4:30 on Saturday. Mostly ushers at this point. And it's a great opportunity for you to come. We'll train you, and you're serving God and serving your community. But what's better than that? Now, in regards to that, we had some people horrified at the fact that yesterday somebody or I don't know if it was one person or multiple people received on the tongue at communion. We have to remind you guys, please do not try to receive on the tongue. Our Eucharistic ministers have been trained and have been reminded, and will be reminded again, that we're not offering communion on the tongue. We're offering it in the hand only. You want to talk about that, Monsignor?
Yes. It is important that although when the instruction came for receiving communion in the hand, the right to continue to receive it on the tongue was emphasized and was followed. But in certain circumstances, and a pandemic is such a circumstance, the bishop by church law, let me clarify that, the bishop by church law can put a limitation on that, and our bishop has. And so we can only give out communion to people with their hands out in the proper way. Now, I know there are some people who say, I will never receive communion. Then you'll be receiving communion spiritually, whether you're in church or outside of church. But do not force me to make this an issue, all right? This is church law. I'm always amazed when people like the church law, they follow it. But when it's against something they hold important, and they can find all the reason. In fact, I was just reading in Crux, a woman in Rome referred to the Pope as the Antichrist. And the reason is because he mandated that you have to receive communion in the hand, which the Holy Father has not. He's left it up, the church has left it up to the bishops to make that decision. And when John Allen Jr., explained that to her, her response was, well, the Eucharist is a miracle and Christ would never do that to his people. Folks, people are getting sick in church all the time. In the same issue of Crux, there were several articles of how people in church were the reason there were spikes in certain parts of the country. Okay, we cannot... And
not just the Catholic Church, it was those mega churches.
All the churches.
Yeah.
In fact, really the mega churches...
It was the evangelicals.
But part of it is because they're not listening to, the directives. Okay, we are following the directives both of our church and of the state. And therefore we do ask that you please obey this. And as I said before, remember, the Lord Jesus allowed the lepers and the prostitutes to approach him and touch him. And if you don't feel that you who are baptized are worthy to touch the Lord Jesus, then you need some counseling. And I don't care what Sister Mary Outrageous said, and I don't care what Father Whataway said. This is where we are today. They're both either dead or out of religious life. But we're alive. We want you to stay alive, and we will implement this. Not disco.
No. We're staying alive.
Staying alive.
Now, speaking of the state and following its directives, the other day I posted the prayers that were said at the RNC and the DNC by Cardinal Dolan and Father James Martin as an attempt to say, hey, regardless of where you are on this, let's all pray for the country. Let's, look at these beautiful prayers that both of these men, offered, and pray them. And then there was a fight. So, in the comment section. So, we just want to remind everybody that our page is not a place for fighting. It's a place to respect one another and for everybody to feel welcome and nobody to feel alienated or isolated by comments that, we make to one another. And also just a reminder to be civil. This is, Monsignor and I were just talking about how, one of our parishioners posted that the two campaigns are trying to out-religion one another. They've noticed that religious people vote, and now they're trying to kind of tear us apart by using religion as a weapon in their campaigns. And we have to remember that we're above that. We are not people, we are the body of Christ. We're not people who can be torn apart, or should not be people who can be torn apart by infiltrations of others. We have to remember that as the body of Christ, we need to be respectful and loving of one another, and not hate each other because we have different opinions. I mean, this has been such a strange, I don't even know what to say, several years, I guess. I don't remember it being like this when I was a kid. You could have political arguments and everybody was like, at the end of the day, all right, see you later, and everything was fine. Now, if you have a differing opinion, you're the Antichrist. So we have to just remember that, we can disagree on some stuff and still be okay with one another.
I think it's important to realize, well, there was a time, I can remember, because I'm much older than you are, when they said you never talked about politics, religion, and kids in public.
Kids too?
Yeah, kids too. Raising
Grandmas
children.
would have nothing to say.
Yeah, well, that's why most grandmothers got into arguments, but we won't go there. But I think it's so important to realize that it is important. We need to respect one another, even if I disagree with you, because there are things that, I see on Facebook or I hear and everything, and I don't agree with everything that might be there. But, and of course, I always like the posts that say, if you don't agree with me, just keep spinning, and you can keep there is that. But I also think there's such an angst in our world, really, our world. I think it's important to realize, I love my country. I love being a citizen of the United States. I do believe we are a great country, but it's not all about us. And from somebody who thinks it should all be about him, that's quite a comment.
Yeah.
But my mother thinks so.
Golden boy.
But the thing is that in the rest of the world, there are still these traumatic events that are taking place that are pitting people against people, and there's no common ground to discuss.
Yeah.
And even to find points of disagreement, but then to look for points of agreement.
Right.
And so it's important. We should pray for our country. We should vote. Your vote is your own decision, and it's your sacred trust as an American citizen. We hope and pray that our consciences have been formed correctly so that we vote on principle and on those elements that speak to us as a Catholic. But nobody can tell you how to vote. And nobody can make the comments that if you vote this way, you're not a Catholic. Just like someone said, if you vote this way, you're not this ethnic group. I mean, that,
nonsense.
That's nonsense. But we do ask that we treat each other with respect. Because you never know. When you finally get to heaven, you might be sitting next to them. You're going to spend the rest of your eternity not talking to them?
Yeah. Or actually, I think you don't get into heaven if you can't get along with everybody. You got to stay in purgatory.
Well, you can always go around to the kitchen where the Blessed Mother is.
Again. She's gonna make you get along with everybody. You're not gonna sneak in. She's gonna make you get along with everybody, or you don't get in.
Oh.
She's a mom. Get along, or get out. That's moms.
And here's a chocolate.
Stop fighting.
Here's a chocolate chip cookie and a glass of milk.
What is she, Sister Laura? I love Sister Laura.
We were both taught by the Filippini sisters, so we know them. And it's a shout out to the Maestra Pia Filippini. a great group of sisters, and any young woman who's thinking of religious life, give them a look on YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, they're awesome. Very sweet little ladies. And they're all tiny. They're like this big.
You know,
They're
there's
so
a height requirement.
Yeah.
Restriction.
Restriction, that's right. You must be this small to enter the Philippines. All right. So, and also as part of our, reopening stuff, we got word recently that clergy are allowed back in the hospital for end-of-life visits only. So that's something that, Monsignor has been able to go and anoint a couple of people.
Father Brian has also gone in. We have also begun going to the homes for end of life only, please. I'm hoping that maybe after Labor Day we can begin doing communion in the homes. I know some of our ministers have been asking that, and we're a little hesitant, not because we don't want to bring communion into the homes.
We don't want to bring COVID into the homes.
But we don't want to infect people who are already sick or who are struggling with health issues.
Yeah, that we got to be real careful about that. But that's another, bright spot. Now, before Monsignor wasn't even able to get into the hospital to anoint people, and as long as it's not COVID, you can go in and anoint. And so we're getting back to our sacramental celebrations. We're going to talk about confirmation really soon.
Yeah, we still, we're not allowed into the senior facilities.
Oh no.
No, and there are reasons for that.
Oh yeah.
And but we, little by little.
Yeah. Actually, the restrictions have been, I know for some, like my mother-in-law's assisted living place, they were allowing in-person visits, and now they're back to behind the window again. Like you have to stay outside and talk through the window. So, as things develop and as they change, we have to move along with what the requirements are for people's safety. And speaking of change, one of our parishioners had an idea to collect change and roll it.
That segue.
I know, aren't I good? Like you had all the segues last week. I got them all this week.
I'm impressed.
Right? Well, because I'm awake this week. So we are going to be collecting change. Not yet, though. We have to get buckets together and whatnot. And then we're going to need volunteers to help roll them and put them in the rolls. And then whatever we get, we will give to Open Door. Of course, we'll bring them to the bank, not make Open Door do that because they're already having enough problems. But it's a win-win because, as you may have noticed, there is a change shortage in the country. I think because people aren't out buying things and aren't, everybody's preferring credit cards these days. So if you got a lot of change hanging around your house, we'll make an announcement about when that's going to be, but we will ask you to bring it in and drop it in said buckets. And again, it's a great way to support Open Door, which is a wonderful charity. They help so much. And speaking of Open Door, also, our garden is still going nice. I got a couple of pictures of veggies that I'm going to be posting on Facebook later today. But they got some nice tomatoes and some cukes and I think peppers. So it's coming along.
And that goes directly to Open Door. Just a reminder, do not bring fresh produce to the gathering area because number one, due to the glass of our gathering area, even when the air conditioner is pumping, the gathering area is warm, and so it's not healthy.
It's like a magnifying glass on an ant.
Yes, and so fresh produce does spoil in our gathering area, and that would be a waste of food. And remember, a waste of food is a sin.
Yeah, because they're taking it away from hungry people.
So either wait and bring it, it would be best to bring it right to Open Door.
Yeah, but you have to make an appointment with them because they have times where they accept donations. I think that's it.
That's it. Any questions? In the future, because we really don't have, it never seems.
We filmed it.
I know, it never seems like a lot, but then again,
He's chatty.
30 minutes later.
We did it. High five.
God bless. We'll see you on Sunday.
God bless.